In recent times, people have begun falling out of love with video games, and simply can't sit down and enjoy the games that they used to love before. But why is that? Well, there's a few things that might answer this question, but I'll be looking at one that I think might be one of the biggest reasons. And hopefully by the end of this video, something reignites in you and you get your joy of playing games back again. Something everyone talks about is how much better games were back in the old days, and this really highlights one of the big changes that drove people away from games in the first place. Older games were complete experiences with no DLC or other money-grabbing tactics to really hurt the experience, but there's more to it than that. That being the idea of novelty. Think back to when you got your first ever video game, or at least the first one that you can remember. That experience was extremely rewarding. Not only did you have the novelty of something brand new and shiny, but you also had all the things that were packed into the game to keep you as a player. This all worked hand in hand to make a brand new and really fun experience for people. New experiences drive engagement and entertainment to a really high degree. Human beings really like new things. It gives us a nice dopamine hit, and we constantly go out and seek those new and thrilling experiences. However, for things that we've already experienced, eventually the novelty wears off, and games aren't any exception to this. So the clear answer would be to move on to a new type of game, but it's not really that simple. So why can't I just play a new game and get that sense of novelty back? Well, simply because new games don't really truly exist. If I asked you to tell me the difference between Call of Duty, Battlefield, and CSGO, you would name differences between playstyles and such. But if I asked you to describe all the games in 2 words, it would probably be something along the lines of gun game. All these games fit into one nice category, that being FPS. That's their genre and defines the overall gameplay of the games. And that's a bit of the issue. Fundamentally, all these games are pretty much the same. Think of it like a box. The box outside is always going to be the same. It's all going to be about guns and shooting things. But what's inside the box will be different depending on the game. What's inside the box called Halo is different than the one called Call of Duty, but they both have guns. When we are young, not just the things inside the box are new, but the entire box itself is a novel and new experience for us to enjoy. But as we grow older, this starts to fade away as you've seen this box 1,000 times, or in better terms, you've played an FPS game hundreds of times. There's never going to be a difference between them, because the genre is still FPS. The same thing applies to every other genre of game. This is even more seeable as modern games tend to not rock the boat much. The game you loved 5 years ago ends up being pretty close to the one you played today, except for a new coat of paint. Assassin's Creed, since its launch, hasn't really fundamentally changed since the beginning. The only ones to really rock the boat were Black Flag, and honestly, that's a pirate game. So how do you fix this kind of issue? Well, there are 2 options. You either adventure out into a brand new genre that you've never played before, or you add something new to the game that wasn't previously there. Most people do this by adding in little challenges or tasks that don't originally exist in the game that either make it harder or add some type of unique gameplay. But this doesn't really fix the issue because, in some cases, it's not really adding anything substantial. But there is one thing you can do to fix that, and that's speedrunning. Speedrunning is something strange because it adds a very simple goal to the game. Beat the game as fast as you can. Sounds super simple, but actually doing it can range from a walk in the park to some of the most brutal and most difficult things you've ever done in your life. As speedrunning requires an immense knowledge of the game, more so than a normal person would ever have of it. And this gives speedrunning a novelty and dopamine hit that doesn't really exist anywhere else. In speedrunning, almost nothing is consistent, and it requires you to really think creatively about what you're doing. Let's look back at our original example of Call of Duty. The difference between Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 3 is pretty much minor on the grand scale. They're both gun games. When you first start playing the game, you know exactly what you're getting into. You know how to shoot the gun, and this translates to any other game. You've played the gun game before, it makes sense. So now what's the difference if you're speedrunning the different games? Well, you have to learn absolutely everything about that game in order to understand how to break it, and no game will be exactly the same. Even games from the same publisher will end up having different glitches and bugs because that's just how coding works. Every one is unique, and you have to learn every single one. this gives the games a really nice kind of novelty, because you have to redo something new every single time you play, and no matter what, it will never be the same. In some cases, while speedrunning FPS games, they no longer become FPS games because it's faster to not engage in the entire genre of the game than it is to use it, making the game have an entirely different feel than what was ever intended. Add on to that most people don't really actually do speedrunning and have never experienced it, it's a brand new genre for a lot of people, making speedruns of games extremely rewarding and novel for people playing it, hopefully reigniting the passion to play games because it's just adding so much value to anything you ever wanted to play. Anywho though, that's just my thoughts on it, so if you want to go and have fun with games again, go try speedrunning.